All right, Mize, we got to talk about one of the teams that's our favorite to cover. That's the Baltimore Ravens, Mize. And this is a team that, look, I don't know how they have it. The Ravens probably should be 4-0. They're 2-2, but they are one of the more talented teams in the NFL. They're battled through some injuries, but they look really explosive on offense. Lamar Jackson has been stupendous, and that offense has some really exciting news and a really cool story to talk about this week going into this pivotal Week 5 matchup coming up. And I know you have the specifics on that. But Ravens fans, before we talk about that story, we want to hear from you in the comment section below. What offensive player has impressed you the most this season? Guess what? You can't say Lamar. He's been fantastic. Give us another guy that's really jumped out to you, who's made a really good impact on this offense, this Baltimore Ravens offense. Let us know who you think in the comment section below. But Miles, give us the latest out of Baltimore.
Yeah, Nick, you say should be 4-0, but since two fourth quarter collapses, that's the problem. We can't close the game out in the fourth quarter. They cannot grind it out. But you know what would help them grind it out in the fourth quarter? The running game of old that we had the last couple of years in Baltimore. Not last year, the year before that, in 2020, 2019. Those are some prime years of rushing attacks in Baltimore, and we're getting that back. Gus Edwards is now off the PUP. This veteran running back who's averaged 5.2 yards per carry in his career. Pretty impressive stats. He is back at practice, and Coach John Harbaugh says Gus looked good out there. He's out here. He's done a really good job with his rehab. He's worked really hard, and he had a really good day today at practice. This is talking about Gus Edwards' first day at practice, and even more so, they got some comments from Lamar about Gus. He says, "It was wonderful seeing Gus today. Gus looked like Gus." And, what more could you ask for? He said it looked like he's back. He's 100%, and they cannot wait to see him on the field. And, I'm with Lamar. I love Gus Edwards. He's one of my favorite players on the Ravens. He's one of my favorite running backs to watch runs. He runs so hard. He hits the hole. He trucks guys coming to get him. He's literally his namesake, Gus Bus, is like a bus driving through the hole. You can't stop this guy. And get this, Nick. People might underrate Gus Edwards because he's the number 2 running back on this team. I guess, like a more heavy set, like the heavy package running back. But Gus Edwards, 2018, 80.1 rushing grade. 2019, 76.9 rushing grade. And then 2020, his big breakout season pretty much, an 86.5 rushing grade. So Edwards has been phenomenal up to this point. He has just over 700 rushing yards all 3 of those seasons, and I really can't wait for him to come back.
Yeah, and for people that aren't familiar, remember an 80 grade in PFF is like Pro Bowl level. That's like a star player. So getting around 80 and in some cases high as 86 is huge. And speaking of huge, you brought up a great point about this Ravens running game. It's not as dominant as it was in the past. And when you look at the stats, they're actually a little misleading. So right now the Ravens are 8th in the NFL in yards per game. They're 9th in first down, rushing first downs. They only have 3 rushing TDs, only 4 runs over 20 yards. Those aren't the worst statistics in the world. But remember, Lamar Jackson's on this football team, and Jackson has 56% of those rushing yards. Jackson is also averaging 8.5 yards per carry. So when you factor that in, the running back contribution on the running game has been just dismal. It hasn't been what it needs to be. And getting Edwards back and part of this downhill running game, because that's when the Ravens offense is at its best. Because teams can kind of scheme a little bit, with against Lamar Jackson if they have an athletic secondary like the Bills. The Chargers famously did it with Derwin James, right? They get kind of a spy in there to kind of limit some of the things he can do. They can play certain coverages against his wide receivers, kind of double up Mark Andrews. But the way when you play like that against the Ravens, it opens up the downhill running game. And that's why the Ravens in 2019 and 2020 were so unstoppable. Because even if you game plan for Lamar Jackson and eliminated guys like Andrews, they would literally just hand the ball off the middle and get 6 yards to carry. Like, you just can't cover everybody. You can't stop everything. And getting Edwards back in the fold allows him to go back to that a little bit more and get a lot more contribution out of the running game from the running back position, because that's exactly what they need. Look, they have all the pieces in place. Leonard Baum has looked solid in the running game. The rookie center, he was a question mark. Ricard looks as good as ever. The rest of the offensive line, in terms of run blocking, is coming together. It's a solid group. Bunch of nice tight ends. They even actually got, assuming Bateman is healthy, gets healthy, a bunch of explosive playmakers on the outside finally. So if they can just get this downhill running game going, this offense will be pretty darn close to unstoppable, especially with White Jackson is playing. And getting Gus Edwards back and seeing him look good. And that's why everyone's excited to see him, because when he's back and healthy, this offense is just borderline unstoppable.
Yeah, Nick. So we get J.K. Dobbins back. First game back, little slow to start. Second game back, he went off. He had a really great game in the receiving department and the rushing department. Ronnie Stanley working back, yet to be seen when he's going to be back. But they say he should be back any week now. Yet to be seen, as I say, but we will see. Gus Edwards coming back. If him, Stanley, Bateman may play this week, may not. It's yet to. There's day by day trying to see what's going on with that. There's no word on it as of this point in time. So we get Bateman back, we get Edwards back, we get Stanley back. I know Justin Houston's been banged up as well. If we can get him back, getting this whole team back healthy again is going to be big time, because Baltimore has been very impressive this season so far, especially offense. They've been a really good, high-scoring offense. Probably at this point in time, when I think they're in top 5. They were number 2 after week 3. I think they're like at least in the top 5 now. But this offense is only going to get better when you get back a strong offensive lineman and you get back a running back who can really pound it in the running game.